Fantasy drafts on the way, and some people even drafting this week and the next couple weeks, obviously, before the season starts September 4th. Here's the best values on Sleeper ADP wise. This is the first player who has great value on Sleeper going into drafts this season. It's Christian McCaffrey. Right now, his ADP is 13th overall going in. And I know a lot of injuries throughout his career. Last season, we only saw him in a few games with McCaffrey, where he still, I thought, did decent. 50 carries, 202 rush yards, 15 catches, 146 receiving yards, and a fumble loss. And this 49er offense changed a lot in this offseason. Traded away Deebo Samuel to the Commanders. Brandon Ayuk, he's hurt. He most likely won't be ready, obviously, the first few weeks minimum of the season with the ACL injury. And Brock Purdy got his contract. So I think this offense, it's going to run through Christian McCaffrey once again. Obviously, George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, he's banged up and he wants a new contract as well. Got the second-year receiver, Ricky Pearsall. So not much going on besides McCaffrey and Kittle is two top options and guys you could depend on, obviously, with their track record and possibly Hall of Fame careers for both of them. So McCaffrey, 13th overall, is great ADP. Right now, if I was going to draft, he's number 7 overall for me, is Christian McCaffrey going into season. I know the injury concerns are a big risk, but the reward is even bigger because if he's healthy, he's got potential to be the top running back in fantasy football. We've seen it time and time again, and health's been the only thing that held McCaffrey back over the last few seasons. And also as well with McCaffrey, he was ready to go in January if, say, San Francisco made the playoffs. So he's been healthy now for 7-8 months, is McCaffrey. So definitely, but that 13th ADP-wise, that's a great number, especially on Sleeper. Next play is another back, Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. So when I did the ESPN video, his value was low there as well. And also on Sleeper, it's low. 29 overall is his ADP, is Chase Brown. And there's no competition in the backfield for him this year. I know they brought in Samaje Perine, but he's at the latter part of his career. He's nothing more than a change of pace back here and there. And I believe Chase Brown's one of the better receiving backs out of the backfield. Last season, in his first full year as the guy, especially when Zach Moss went down with injury, he took over pretty much 80% of the share in the backfield. 229 attempts, 990 rush yards, 7 touchdowns, 54 catches, 360 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's in one of the best offenses in the league. Joe Burrow, obviously elite quarterback. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, arguably the best 2 wide receiving tandem on the same team in all pro football. And Chase Brown, like I said, he's going to be the man over there. There's no competition. I don't see Perine taking his job, obviously, from the Cincinnati Bengal team. And the only thing, I know he's a smaller back, but we've seen it now the last couple seasons. Small backs have good years. Devon Achane last season, Bucky Irvin last season, he had a big year. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's not the biggest of backs as well. He had a monster season. So I don't think size is a huge thing, obviously, like he used to in the 80s and 90s, where you wanted that big, bulky back who could carry the football 30, 40 times per game, when now the game changed and these guys are elusive and make plays in the receiving game. So Chase Brown, going into the year, my confidence in taking him even higher in fantasy drafts is going up with his PPR prowess, catching anywhere from 50 to 60 passes. So 29th overall ADP-wise, I think so with a low. Next play is another back, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts. So his ADP on Sleeper right now is 25th overall. And I think Taylor going into the year, worst case scenario, and I'm not the biggest Jonathan Taylor guy, he's a top 20 player going into the season. So last year he got off to a slow start, is Jonathan Taylor, but he exploded the last 4 or 5 games of the year and finished the year with a monster workload, 303 carries, 1,431 rush yards, 11 touchdowns, 18 catches, 136 receiving yards, and a touchdown. No, he's pretty much a non-factor in the passing game. He's not going to get receptions as Jonathan Taylor, but when you get a workload anywhere from 275 carries to 300 per season, which he's doing when healthy, is Jonathan Taylor, a lot of volume, and you're just going to work your way into points more weeks than not. And we know he's got that home run ability, Taylor. We know once he gets to that second level running downhill, he's tough to take down. And to go 25th, that's just great value for Jonathan Taylor. Like I said, he's in my top 20, and worst case, he's a mid-second rounder to me, is Jonathan Taylor going into the season. Obviously, no competition over there in Indianapolis. They don't got much going on in the passing game. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, they drafted in the NFL draft. But this is still going to be a run-heavy type of team, and they're going to try to grind games out. And their quarterback, they don't got much going with Daniel Jones and Richardson, whoever wins that competition. Especially if Daniel Jones is starter, I think this offense will be more balanced. I know Jones, he runs the football, but Anthony Richardson more was a goal line vulture, what we've seen in their careers, than Daniel Jones. Next player is Amari Hampton, the Los Angeles Chargers. Amari Hampton, he's moving up the ranks pretty quickly in his rookie season before fantasy drafts approach. And right now, he's 42 ADP-wise on Sleeper, which is great value for Hampton. He was a first-round pick. I know reports came out that it's going to be a committee kind of in the backfield. But I think Hampton, like a Jahmyr Gibbs type of role, where if he gets 15 touches per game, he's still going to work into volume. Good receiver out of the backfield, physical in between the tackles. Najee Harris, he's still sitting out training camp. So Hassan Haskins, most likely, if Harris ain't ready, he'll get some work. But like I said, Hampton going into the year, he's going to be a top dog for this backfield, I think, for this Los Angeles Charger. And right now, going into the season, he's my number 13 ranked running back is Amari Hampton. So physical in between the tackles, game-breaking ability. And this Charger team, they're not going to go out there and waste a first-round pick on a running back if he's not going to see the field immediately and get a decent workload. Like I said, Najee Harris, it's a one-year deal, so they got nothing, obviously, to owe him. It's not like he's on a big 3-4 year contract making 10, 11 mil a year. It's a one-year contract, and like I said, you don't go out there, especially in the NFL draft, where the running back position over the last 10 seasons has been devalued. But even though this year was a healthy draft, a lot of running backs going in the first, second round. So Hampton, right now, going in that 4th round range is just great value. But obviously, if he's there, 3rd round, I would take him. So ADP-wise and Sleeper, it's great value. Next back's another rookie, Trevion Henderson. Every platform, he's been underrated, is Henderson. 5th is his ADP, and we know the playmaking ability. We saw it in the first preseason game, 100-yard return touchdown it was for Trevion Henderson. Could catch the football out of the backfield, and he's got home run ability as well, is Henderson. We know Stevenson's there. We know he got the extension last offseason. But I think this is going to be a 50-50 backfield, and Henderson, the more explosive running back and playmaking back. And also as well, this Patriot team really hasn't had a playmaker with his upside in a long time. So they added Diggs in the offseason in the receiving room, even though I don't think he's 100% yet with that ACL. And then you had Trevion Henderson. So I think Henderson, they're going to find different ways to get him the ball, line him up in different formations and stuff. And he's a running back that could be a steal going into fantasy drafts in the 6th round range. Next player, Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans. Last season, in his first year with Tennessee, I thought he had a pretty solid year with Pollard. 260 carries, 1,079 rush yards, 5 touchdowns, 41 catches, 238 yards receiving. So last year, there wasn't much obviously over there. Will Levis was the quarterback. Mason Rudolph at times as well for this Tennessee Titan team. And now to get the number 1 pick, Cam Ward, who's a hard worker, breaking down this offense. First guy in the team facility and last guy to leave. I think this offense is going to be improved. I mean, there's not much going on as well. It's Pollard and Calvin Ridley, the top 2 options. So for him to be 78 overall ADP-wise, that's great value, where you're getting a running back with top 12, 15 upside, in my opinion, is Tony Pollard, where to have over 1,300 yards from scrimmage last season and 41 catches, that's a solid year. You want to see the touchdowns obviously go up. But like I said, there's not much competition over there. Now with Tajay Spears getting hurt in the first preseason game, I think Tony Pollard, he's going to get a majority of the touches, especially if Spears is going to miss the first couple weeks of the season if this injury lingers the next 4 or 5 weeks. So the value where he's going 78 overall is Tony Pollard. Just great value where he could be a flex option or your 3rd, 4th running back, depending how you go in your fantasy draft coming off the bench. So he's very underrated, is Tony Pollard going into the other platforms. I mentioned him as well on Yahoo, where I thought at 60th overall ADP-wise was late for Pollard. But to see him 78 on Sleeper, that's a great value for a guy who could be a big help for fantasy owners. The next player is Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Pretty much every platform, I think he's underrated, is Mike Evans. And on Sleeper, he's going 38 overall P-wise to Mike Evans. And even Yahoo, he's 35th. And ESPN, like 33, 34, he is Evans. So right now, they're ranking him as a 3rd round pick. And we know 11 years in the NFL, 1,000 yards every season. Last year, missed a few games, still 74 catches, 1,004 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. Him and Baker Mayfield, ever since Mayfield got there a few seasons ago, they've been on the same page and they're putting up numbers. And also as well, with Tom Brady, they just weren't connecting that second season. Brady was over there with Tampa Bay. But with Baker, they've turned things around. And Mike Evans, he's still a matchup nightmare. Even if he lost a step, entering his 12th season in the NFL, he's still going to go out there. He's going to make plays. He still has that home run ability. Just burn a secondary, get one for a 60, 70-yard touchdown. And like I said, with him and Baker locked in, Mike Evans, once again, has potential to be a top 12 wide receiver. And to get that value in the mid to late third round range is just great value right now. Next play is George Pickens of the Dallas Cowboys. George Pickens, he's underrated on Sleeper. I know he's the number 2 receiver over there in Dallas, but going 60th overall, end of the 5th, 6th round range, I think is good value for George Pickens. Coming into the year, he's a top 24 wide receiver, I think, Pickens. Last season, 59 catches, 900 yards, 3 touchdowns, and fumble loss. So I think the catches are going to go up over there in Dallas. They don't got much of a running game, and I think Dallas is going to be trailing a lot, especially in a tough NFC East, with obviously the championship Eagles and the Commanders now, who are definitely a threat after getting to the NFC Championship game last season. Dallas is going to throw a lot. Like I said, the backfield, there's not much going on. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue. So there's going to be a lot of third and longs and a lot of opportunities, I think, for George Pickens. Even with CeeDee Lamb, who we know every season, he's pretty much getting 95 to 110 catches yearly. For Pickens, he's going to get a lot of one-on-one coverage. Teams are going to roll double teams and safety over the top on CeeDee Lamb, and that's where Pickens can really go out there and make plays. He's a burner. Contract season as well, and he makes a lot of acrobatic grabs. If him and Dak get on the same page and get rapport early, I think Pickens, he could break out this season for a big year. And to go 60th ADP-wise is great value for Pickens. So pretty much that's your number 3 receiver flex option. And going into the year, I'd be comfortable with Pickens in that position. Next play is Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. Signing on last week was Keenan Allen with the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he's going to step right into that number 2 role. Last season, he still had 70 catches, 744 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns was Keenan Allen with the Bears. And him and Caleb Williams, for the majority of the season, they weren't clicking. And now to go back, obviously, to the Chargers, where him and Justin Herbert have put up big numbers for multiple seasons. I think Keenan Allen is a slam dunk at 179th is his ADP. So he's pretty much going last rounds of your fantasy drafts is Keenan Allen. And like I said, even in a down year with a new team last season where their offense was, for the most part, a tough watch and a team that couldn't move the ball consistently, to get 7 touchdowns, still 70 catches, I think this year he could be a 75 catch player, 900 to 1,000 yards, anywhere from 5 to 10 touchdowns. And to get that in the late rounds, and like I said, there's not many playmakers on this offense. Hampton, obviously, I like out of the backfield. Lad McConkey, obviously, but easily he could step in and be that number 3 option. And Justin Herbert and him have ESPN rapport playing those seasons. And like I said, Keenan Allen had some monster years with Herbert. And the final player whose ADP I like a lot on Sleepers, Justin Fields of the New York Jets. So pretty much, I think most platforms, Justin Fields is underrated. I know he's on the Jets. I know they don't got much going besides Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall in the offense, and pretty much spare parts like a Josh Reynolds over there. And they got the rookie at the tight end position, Taylor. And last season limited him running was Pittsburgh, where remember he started for about the first 2 months of the season, and then they took the job from him and went to Russell Wilson. And now the funny thing, both those quarterbacks not there, and they went with even an older guy and veteran in Aaron Rodgers. So last year, 1,106 pass yards, 5 touchdowns and interception, 289 rush yards, and 5 touchdowns and a fumble loss. So like I said, this Jet team, besides Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, not much going on the offense. And I think Justin Fields, especially on Sleeper, he's going 145th ADP-wise. That's a quarterback you're getting in the 10th, 11th round, even 12th round range is Fields. So like I said, he's still one of the better rushing quarterbacks in all NFL is Justin Fields. And also, he's top 10 in my quarterback rankings because that rushing upside, we've seen it a couple years ago with the Chicago Bears where he went off for 1,000 yards rushing, and he had some 40, 50-point games that year as well, was Justin Fields. Now he got the nice contract, 2 years, $40 million with the New York Jets. They're not going to limit him. They're going to go out there and tell him go out there and make plays. And like I said, with pretty much not much going on in the receiving room besides Garrett Wilson, where teams are going to double team him, Fields, you know he's going to look to run. And this Jet offense, they haven't had a quarterback with this much excitement in a very long time. I know a lot of people were hyped with Rodgers, but he's at the end of his career. He didn't do much, got hurt his first year. They didn't win anything last season. They weren't even a playoff team. And I think Fields this year, where he gets to go out there and just be the playmaker he was 2 seasons ago with the Chicago Bears, I think he could be in for a big season. And on Sleeper, he's a guy you get very late, and he could pay big dividends for fantasy owners, even though I know a lot of people don't think he'll do much on the Jets, and they're not a fan of Fields, but that rushing upside is too good to pass up, especially at 145th ADP-wise. So that's the top draft values on the Sleeper platform entering the 2025 fantasy football season.